We got 20 million people in the country, 17, 20. Ain't nobody talking about it. The reporters, they ain't even asking about it. About questions that Americans, I think, want to know about. They don't even ask. And it's Miss Lake who's got to be like, yo, come on, ask good questions. Let's watch her.
Sure.
Ms. Lake, Eric Garcia, the Independent. Yes, you can make all the Ted Lasso jokes you want. Quick question. As of right now, you're underperforming President Trump in the polls, who's either leading or tied in Arizona. How do you plan on getting some of the Trump voters to also vote for you in the general election?
Well, I think it's great for President Trump. It shows that Democrats and independents are flocking to President Trump. They've got a very stark contrast. What they're dealing with now under, I don't know who's running our country, and what they were dealing with President Trump, which was a strong economy, safe streets, great foreign policy, no new wars. And so people are flocking to him. I feel very comfortable with our polling. It's very close. It looks good. My internal polling actually shows me up.
Hey.
Yeah, it does. It does. And so I feel very comfortable. I think I'm going to catch up with President Trump. I mean, we have the greatest president ever in President Trump, so of course he's doing really well. And I believe that we're going to catch up with him, and he's going to win, and I'm going to win in November. And then in January of 25, we're going to get to Washington, D.C., and get to working for the people. Your name? And
Jamie Vera with Fox News. So just like the Cook Political Report today shifted Arizona from lean Republican to toss-up. We're going to see Vice President Harris here tomorrow. Just wondering if you're concerned having Harris at the top of the ticket, if that could hurt Republicans at all, and if we need to have Donald Trump, or if you believe Donald Trump should come out here and campaign as well.
I think that Kamala Harris is actually less popular. If you can imagine this, Joe Biden is so unpopular in Arizona. I'm out talking to more people than all of you guys combined. I talk to more people every single week in Arizona, I think, than anybody. And because I'm a populist candidate who has a great relationship with the people. People don't like Joe Biden, that's pretty obvious. They like Kamala Harris even less. They understand that she hasn't done anything for the border. I don't really believe all the public polls. I've seen a lot of polls. I tend to like the ones that are the internal ones. That's the one where there's no BS involved. And so, you guys can try to create, like I said, it's like a makeover show. Total makeover. You're trying to say that somebody who has done nothing for the border, called herself the border czar, has done absolutely nothing, is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco. And you're trying to now all of a sudden act like she's the biggest superstar on the planet. And you can say that all you want. And there's a reason that your viewership and your subscriptions are just in the tank right now. Because no one's believing the fairy tales that you're telling. And so say all you want and try to take this horrible ticket, the worst we've ever seen, and turn it into something special. The people feel it with their real lives. They can't afford to put food on the table. They're having to go to food banks to supplement, to make ends meet and feed their family. They know what it's about. And you can bring every, singer, rapper, actor, whoever you want to bring into the Democrat rallies. It's not going to change the fact that Democrat policies just don't work. They're devastating for individuals in this wonderful state and really across our country.
Hi, Chair Alex, NBC News. You picked up an endorsement from Karen Taylor Robson last week on primary night. Would you be open to endorsing KTR should she mount a gubernatorial bid in 2026?
Oh my gosh, you're looking to the future. I like that. I'm looking to the future as well, and I see a future with America First policies of really a great economy again, safe streets once again. That's way down the line. I do appreciate that that she endorsed me. She endorsed me right after we were declared the winner last Tuesday, election day, and I really appreciate her endorsement. She's a businesswoman. She's had great accomplishments, and I welcome her endorsement. I don't even know that that's what she's planning on doing, and so I think we need to get through this election. Would you all agree we probably should get through this election? I think people are a little bit, frankly, by the time this election rolls around, they're going to want a tiny little bit of break as we roll up our sleeves and get to work. So thank you. Who did I miss? Let me ask this, and then I'll get to you. Is that okay?
Gabriel Sandoval with the Associated Press. I'm interested to know, did Harris miss a chance to improve her standing in the state by not picking Senator Mark Kelly and picking Walz?
Well, I actually, I didn't realize that Walz was on the list, and when I saw that she picked him, I was thinking, is she trying to tank the ticket for the Democrats? Because I saw what happened, guys, in the summer of 2020 with Minneapolis. I've got family who lives there. They were scared to death. The city was on fire. Businesses were burning. People were suffering. He didn't do anything. And by the way, Kamala Harris was bailing out the criminals who were burning people's businesses and torching cars and attacking people. And Ruben Gallego was actually marching in similar peaceful protests, as the media calls it. He was marching in those protests, protesting the police, and he was doing all that. He calls the police the bad guys. He calls the police the bad guys. So, frankly, I don't care who you plug in. You can put Mary Poppins in there. The policies of the Democrats are destructive. This is why we have record inflation. This is why the cost of living, rent prices in some areas have doubled. That means that you guys, when you pay rent, you're going to either get a much smaller apartment or you're going to have to take on another new roommate. Our mortgage rates are nearing 8%.
It's crazy.
We can't afford gas. You go to fill up your car and you can't fill it up anymore. You can only put a little bit in because you don't have the money to do it. And we're watching fentanyl kill people. We're watching wars starting overseas. I don't care who you put into that ticket. Like I said, Mary Poppins herself could be there. This is a disastrous ticket because it's a disastrous policies that are hurting the American people. Cameron, back there.
I got a policy question.
Finally,
so,
a policy
back in May, the state
question.
of Texas announced you're talking about border right now, landowners compensation program. In the Senate, is that something that you would like to see on a federal level for rancher landowners along the border who get money back for property damages? Is that something you would support on the
Are
federal?
you talking about when illegal crossers damage their property, cut their fences,
yes.
do all of that?
So it's the crop damage there, and then you go there like here for all the garbage that's left over, the damages for that.
Right.
And so is that something that should happen on a federal level?
Well, I'm glad that you're asking about it. Cameron actually does some pretty decent reporting, and he covers this kind of stuff because the ranchers, people living on the border, are suffering. And they're losing livestock. They're afraid for their lives. The good news is, Cameron, starting in January 2025, those ranchers are going to have a huge sigh of relief because we're going to stop this invasion at our border. So in January, that's going to right away. And they're not going to have to worry about having all this damage. But we'll look at all of that. I don't want to stand up here and make a policy decision, but we want to make sure we are protecting people along the border. But the way we protect people along the border is we stop the invasion at the border, and we take all of the disastrous policy that Joe Biden ushered in on day one with Ruben Gallego cheering him on, 100% behind it, and we get rid of all that disastrous policy, throw it in the trash. We bring back common sense policy that President Trump had to truly secure our border. So that's going to happen in January. Did we miss? Was you the one? Yeah.
KTR News. We've seen a number of state Republicans gather behind both Harris and Ruben Gallego for support. I was just curious to get your reaction to that. And
Oh my God! Can we
I
get
wanted
a
to ask,
policy
is there any
first?
concern to you that the GOP is fracturing in Arizona?
I don't think so, actually. I think it's growing. I mean, look at all these people here. Many of them are former Democrats that are going to vote Republican. Thank you. We are the party of we the people. And I think they had, 10, 11, 12 people, and they called themselves Republican. But they voted for Hillary. They voted for, Hobbs. They voted for everybody except Republicans and now they're going to vote for Kamala Harris and this Walz guy. And they're going to vote for Ruben Gallego, the most radical liberal politician to ever run in Arizona. I think you have to maybe at that point look in the mirror and decide if you want to maybe register as a Democrat. I don't know. If a few Republicans are becoming Democrats, that's up to them. They get their vote. But far more Democrats are coming over to the Republican Party. And the party is uniting. And I will say one more thing. I got polling, and I got close to 90% of the Republicans who are with me right now. And I think it's like 88 or 89%. President Trump's got 90%, so I'm pretty close to where he is. I believe the Republicans are united around me, and they want to have secure borders. They don't want the Trump tax cuts to go away. Most people who are business owners, Republicans, don't want the Trump tax cuts to go away in January. How many of you want a 20 or 30% increase in your taxes come January? They want to have a secure border. They don't want to be starting off new wars. So I'm not worried about that. I would let them know I still do want their vote. I welcome their vote. If they start to realize that things about Ruben Gallego that he's putting in his commercials aren't true, and they realize how liberal he is, and they want to come back over and be Republicans, we would love to have their vote. I want your vote. I want you guys' vote. When you realize how disastrous this has been for your generation, I would love to have your vote as well. Do we need one more question? Do we have time for one more? How about
Can
this
it be good?
lady in front here?
Can it be good?
Rachel Louise Jess, ABC 15.
Hi.
Kind of just going off of that, you easily won last week, but it was somewhat close in just compared to how much money you raised compared to Mark Lamb and seemingly the events that you were holding, things like that.
16% is a close election. I didn't know that.
I guess just looking, not to say that you didn't easily win, like I said, you did, but with the amount of money that you were raising and the large events you were holding,
Good.
there was a closeness there. What do you do to bring in those Mark Lamb Republicans to win them over?
I think the
Money
Lamb
doesn't
supporters
win.
are already with me. I really do. First of all, let me educate you guys. 16% is a landslide victory, just so you know. 16% is massive.
She did raise it 16%. That's good.
And I love Mark Lamb and I love his supporters, so I actually welcome them, and I believe we're going to get all of them. I really do. I did raise a lot more money, you're right. I think we raised 11 or 12 million actually. But guess what? Guess how much money I spent in the primary? 0. I didn't spend a penny. I have been, since I jumped into this, focused on the enemy. And the enemy is not Mark Lamb. The enemy is actually Ruben Gallego and these socialist policies. So I ran a general election since the 10th of October when I jumped in. I've been running a general election campaign. I haven't spent money on the primary. I didn't talk about the primary. I talk about my true opponent, who is Ruben Gallego. And so you don't pour money into a race that you're already going to win. I already knew what the polling was going to be. I knew I was going to be victorious. And I therefore I didn't focus on that. So I think for not focusing at all on that, I think that was actually a massive landslide victory. But if you think 16 points is a close race, then I'll take a close race. Thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much for being. Oh, did we miss you? Oh, my least favorite publication. Now, when is the Arizona Republican to start being fair?
Kari Lake with the Arizona Republic. You spoke about your polling and how your campaign did in the primary and such, and that you have Republicans United behind you. When do you expect to see a flood of money coming in from, all the various Republican organizations from Washington, or the endorsement and public backing of people like Karen Taylor Robeson or Doug Ducey or others? Should we expect any of that to, sort of make the case? That,
We just said Karen Robeson has endorsed me.
will she be on the trail with you?
I don't know. I mean, she's running a business, and I'm okay on the trail. I mean, I think an endorsement, it's never enough for the Republic, though. It's never enough. It's like a 16-point win isn't enough. You win in a landslide, and they say it wasn't a big enough landslide. You raise money. I raised 5.2 million, and they said it wasn't enough. Get endorsements from people, and they say it wasn't enough of an endorsement, or it wasn't a big enough endorsement. I don't know what I can do to please the Arizona Republic, but I'm not trying to please the Arizona Republic.
Hear that loud.
So I'm happy with where we are. We have the NRSC has been incredibly supportive, and they're helping us run ads. We're running, I think we've got a $10 million ad buy right now. I'm comfortable with that. We have Club for Growth supporting us, and so I've got a ton of support. But most importantly, I have the support of the people of this great state, and that is where the power is. The power is with the people. So I appreciate every endorsement I get. We just announced a new list of endorsements today. We've got General Mick McGuire, former Representative John Shadegg, Congressman Debbie Lesko, Newt Gingrich, Jerry Moyes, a wonderful businessman, Steve Twist, Amy Van Dyken, 6-time Olympic gold medalist, Jay Feely, retired professional football player and broadcaster, Sal DeCiccio, Karen Robeson. We've got a lot of endorsements of people who are endorsing us. I am not worried that Republicans aren't coming home. I know they are. They know what's at stake. They know the very fabric of this country is torn, and we have to bring it together. I'm working on not just Republicans, but Democrats who are disaffected and sick of struggling and suffering under the Democrat Party. And I'm working on independents. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone. And if you want to, you might be able to talk to some of these folks behind me, and please start telling the story of the fentanyl crisis. It's real. It's real.
She is good.